Every digital image that's captured with a camera is going to be made up of pixels. These pixels are like small building blocks, which from a distance will give you a very smooth, continuous tone image, but zooming closer to it will reveal all those little building blocks. They will be especially noticeable around curved edges. We will have a more rough edge or little steps. The more pixels you can record in the original image, the better the quality will be and the more detail you will have on each individual part of the image. That also means you will be able to print the image in a much higher format without starting to see pixelation in your printed image. So if I zoom a little bit further back, you can imagine that there are a lot of pixels in this image, and this is not even a high resolution image. I would say it's like a normal medium resolution. It's around a full HD video format. But if I go to the image size, I can show you within the image menu, we have image size. Once I select that, we will see the pixel size or the dimensions here. So on this image, we have 1920 pixels for the width and 1280 pixels for the height. To get the overall amount of pixels, you would multiply these two values together, and that's how you get it. You can imagine that's a lot. We are talking about millions of pixels. And the main aspect of how many pixels you can record with a camera that you need to look for is obviously the megapixel, which is getting higher and higher each year. And now even with cell phones, you can record really high resolution images. Of course, the megapixel is not the only thing you need to look for, because the image quality depends on also other factors like the size of the sensor within the camera. But without getting too technical, let me explain another very important aspect, and that is resolution. Now you can see resolution here is set to 300, and you might have heard of 300 dpi or 300 ppi when someone talks about good high quality resolution print. Now this means that if this image is going to be printed, there will be 300 pixels printed on an inch distance. So if I switch here to inches, the measurement, I will actually see exactly how big this is going to be in print. So it will be around 6 by 4 inches, which is not that big. You can see that's roughly like a postcard size, and although we have millions of pixels in this image, it's still not enough to print like a bigger page format while maintaining a very good high quality print. So 300 ppi or pixel per inch is like an industry standard that you can use. There's also a little bit more lenient one, the 240 ppi, which is also considered good quality print. Now, what happens if I change the resolution? Well, if I change the resolution while having the resample on, that will resize the image. So if you don't want to resize, you can turn that off. And that way, if I change this to 240, notice what happened with my print size. It got bigger. Because I have 240 pixels per inch, that means my actual print size can get bigger. Now to show you this, I have another little diagram here. So, for example, that detail within the image will print much bigger if I use 50 ppi or if I use 300 ppi. So if the resolution is set to high number like 300, then on an inch distance, which is 2.54 centimeters, you will have 300 of the pixels from the image printed, while here we will have on the same distance 50 pixels from the original image printed. So you can see reducing the resolution will make your print much bigger, but the quality of the print will drop as well considerably. So going back to our previous example, if I want to see how this image is going to be printed, I can go to the View menu and choose Print Size, which will give me a rough estimate of how big this image will be once it's printed. Now this is based on my actual screen I'm looking at the moment. So if you look at the recorded version and on your screen, depending on your screen size, it might look different. But whenever you work in Photoshop, this will give you a rough estimate of how big that image is going to be once it's printed. Now, if I go to image size, and I change the resolution, so I'm just going to turn off resample, and I change the resolution to, let's say, 150, and then I click on OK. Then I go back to view menu and choose print size again. You will see that the image will be twice as big. So we reduce the resolution to half, then we will get twice as big print size. Your question might be, can Photoshop resize an image without changing the resolution? Well, yes, it can, but it will always have to resample the image, meaning it will have to redistribute all the pixels within the image. So if I go to the image menu and choose image size, I can show you that by having resample turned on, increasing the resolution to 300 will mean the image will have to become much larger. So Photoshop will have to create pixels, and not just a few, but a lot. For this resampling, Photoshop will have to do almost twice as many pixels as there were originally in the image. And you will see the effect that has. It will start to blur the image slightly. So Photoshop won't be able to generate pixels for you. It will estimate them. So I can show you, if I click and hold on the image, that's how the original image was. And when I let go, this is how the resampled version will look like. If I go even higher up, let's just say I need a 50 centimeters wide image. Or maybe if we are talking about inches, let's just change it to, I don't know, 15 inches. Then you can see now the pixel size gets even higher. And again, I can compare before and after. You can see that the quality will never get better. It will slightly get blurry and not as sharp as before. So don't get confused about resizing images. Photoshop will never be able to create a more detailed image. It will have to create pixels from the original ones and just estimate how those new pixels would look like. So the lesson to learn from this is to try to always work with as high resolution images as possible. But resizing and understanding resolution is not the only thing we have to learn. We might also want to crop images sometimes. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in the next video.